Hey guys, welcome back to another venting session with Jessica. I am back. And today I'm going to be talking about my experiences through motherhood. But before I begin, I want to say thank you to my comadre Maribel for inspiring me with this topic. She was the one who brought up the idea and I said, "You know what? It is good for me to talk about this because as women, we can relate to a lot of these experiences." So, first, I have two kids. For those of you who don't know, I have a 9-year-old boy and a now 4-year-old girl, Armani and Zena. And Armani was not planned. Armani was not planned. In my head, I was going to have a kid when I was 25. That was going to be my first child. Yeah, that didn't happen. I had him when I was 23, 2 years earlier. Not too bad, not too shabby. Um, but yeah, that was definitely not planned, and I was in complete and utter shock. Yes, I was in so much shock when I found out that I was pregnant. And the way that I found out I was pregnant was because it wasn't even because I was late, because I didn't have a very regular period when I was 23. What really gave me the red flag was the fact that I was having acid reflux, and I had never experienced that in my life ever. And so, joking around, I told a friend of mine at that time through text, I was like, I think I'm pregnant because I haven't had my period and I'm having acid reflux. I have never experienced that in my life. And she was like, so just go get a test. And literally, I got a test jokingly. I really didn't think it was going to be positive. I really did not. And I went and I got this test. And when I see these two lines, I was in so much denial. You wouldn't even, I couldn't even believe it. Like my husband, which at the time was my fiance because we were not married yet, but we were living together. He was like, he was chilling. He was okay, like with it. I was more like, are you serious? Like, is this real? Is this happening? And so, of course, I took two tests and I still had to go to the doctor and get a confirmation, of course. And yes, I was pregnant at 23. And so after I was told by the doctor, I just kind of accepted it and I didn't even feel any type of way. We were both working at the time. We were both living with each other. So it wasn't such a huge deal for me. He was very happy about it. So that's also very important. And so I just took it as it was, that's what happened. God wanted it to happen at that time. And I just ran with it. I was very calm. Like I was more calm than I thought I would be my first pregnancy. And so that happened. And 4 years later, approximately 4 years later, I had my daughter. And she was planned because I didn't want my kids to be too far apart in age. And so we did plan her and literally took almost no tries. No, let me stop. It happened very quickly for us from the moment that we started planning. And I was so much more involved with my daughter mentally because I prepared for her and also because I had already gone through my experience with my son. So I was an experienced mom. And so at this point, with my son, I had a lot of struggles because he wasn't a planned baby. Like when I gave birth to him, I had just started a new job. I didn't have maternity leave benefits, so I wasn't getting paid when I was on my maternity leave. And there was a lot of like financial struggles even that I just did not foresee because of how young I was and how not prepared I was. That with my daughter, I was so prepared. I had been with my company, working with them for years. So, I had my maternity leave. I also had short-term disability, in line. So I literally was getting paid throughout my whole maternity leave. And I was out for about, was it 4 months? Like 4 months, 4 or 5 months I was out, which I thought was a blessing because with my son, I was only able to be out for 3 months. And what else? I I really enjoyed my daughter's newborn stages more than I enjoyed my son's. My son's was it was a struggle besides the fact that he was a colicky baby. I was new at this and so was my husband. And so there's just certain things that no matter what, you're not going to be prepared for. But with my daughter, I was mentally prepared. You know, I planned her. I was mentally prepared to have a newborn, and she ended up being a little angel. Like at 1 month old, when she was 1 month old, she was sleeping throughout the whole night. I just couldn't even believe it. I was getting ready to lose sleep for like the next 6 months. And after 1 month, she was sleeping throughout the whole night. And I would touch her little belly just to make sure she was breathing because I just couldn't believe she was sleeping all night. And I breastfed with her a lot longer. I had a lot of issues with Armani. Not issues. I feel like I just wasn't trained well enough in order to breastfeed my son. And I gave up too easily. With my daughter, I was more patient. I did more research. Um, Before I left the hospital, I made sure that a lactation nurse, I think that's what they call them, trained me on how to like latch her on. And it was so much smoother. Like my daughter learned how to latch on. I knew exactly how I needed to place her. And so I was able to breastfeed my daughter for a lot longer than my son. I was able to breastfeed her for at least 3 or 4 months. That so yeah, I was a lot more prepared, a lot more present with my daughter. I enjoyed a lot of the moments a lot more than with my son. I love my son as a baby, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is I realized how quickly time moves, that when my daughter was little, I used to miss my son being that small. And so when my daughter was small, I made sure that I enjoyed the little moments, enjoyed the moment where I was breastfeeding her, enjoy the moment where I was burping her, because I realized, you know what? This is not going to last forever. This is only a small period of my lifetime, and she's never going to be this small again. And so I made sure to like really enjoy that time. And even when I would get frustrated, I just remind myself like this moment is going to be just a small moment of my life. So this shall pass and I'm going to be okay. And it also helps to have the support of a husband, the support of maybe a parent in your life. Just having a support system when you have a new baby is crucial, because a lot of us go through postpartum depression. And even if you're not going through postpartum depression, it's just very difficult to have a baby and to be able to care for yourself. But going to one of the questions that Michael Mai said I should talk about was also how was my transition from Armani to having a second kid. And like I mentioned, it was easier for me. Like the transition was easier because I felt like I was more prepared. Even now, if I was to have a third child, I think about it more on a financial I think about it more from a financial perspective or a being present perspective, because my husband and I have so much going on, so much we want to accomplish, more than I think about it from a perspective of, am I ready to have another child? Like, if everything was to line up where I felt like, okay, we're pretty good financially, we work, but we have enough time to spend with our kids, I would have another child, no doubt. Like, I would. I would, because I feel like now that I'm in my 30s, I understand a lot more things. You know, I would be a parent who's a lot more prepared in parenting terms. Okay, so another question would be, what have been some of my struggles? And I say some of my struggles as a mom has been feeling like I'm not doing a good enough job as a mom, or feeling like I'm not Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Why? What? What are you thinking? No. I just want to be careful what I'm going to say. Um so yeah, feeling like I don't even know how to explain it. It's that feeling. I know every mom has felt this. It's that feeling of like, am I feeding my kids enough healthy food? Am I being present enough? Am I, you know, taking away from my kids, memories by being a full-time employee? Like, it's just so many little things that I feel like us as moms feel like we need to be perfect at. But when I look around and when I even think about like my own childhood, I realize like my mom wasn't perfect. She was a hell of a mom. Like, in my eyes, for me as a kid, she was the best mom ever. And when I look back, it's not like my mom was doing anything extraordinary. It's not like, I don't know if I'm making sense. It's just for us in our eyes, I feel like as moms, we feel like we need to be we need to have like superpowers. But that's just us being so harsh on ourselves, because I feel like we are doing the best that we can. Most of us are doing the best that we can, but we want to be this superhero type of mom that does everything. And it's very hard to do everything perfectly, especially nowadays if you are a working mom. Because let's face it, like, you're human, you're gonna get tired. And sometimes you lash out at your kids without even wanting to lash out, because you're exhausted from everything that's going on in your head and everything that you feel that needs to get done. And let's not even go to the part of, some of us out here working full-time jobs and also doing side hustles to try to better our lives and our kids' lives. So it's a lot that goes on in our heads. And I feel like the way I've overcome that in a way sometimes, because sometimes I still feel those feelings of like, I'm not doing enough. But I do talk to myself and say, what do I need to do to be the best mom that I can be? And that is, I need to prioritize self-care. I need to prioritize feeling okay. I need to prioritize my mental health, because when I'm not okay mentally, I'm not going to be the best mom, because I'm not feeling happy. I'm not feeling energized. I'm not feeling like I can. And so anything that I have to do during the day feels like a huge task. And so whenever I am feeling energized or I've taken care of myself mentally, I can be a better mom. So if there's anything that you out there, moms, can do to be a better mom, is remember that you need to prioritize yourself and you need to prioritize your mental health so that you could be the best that you can be for your kids and even for your spouse if you're married. Because if you don't prioritize yourself, you're not going to be the best you can be at anything. Oh, and I just want to share that one of the things that stresses me out the most about being a mom is my kids' eating habits. That is literally the one thing that stresses me the most. Me having a busy schedule, sometimes I don't have time to prepare this huge, meals. But when I do, I want my kids to eat as good as possible. I'm always constantly trying to get them to eat fruits and to eat veggies. I'm struggling, guys. I'm struggling. My kids do not want to eat their veggies, and I don't know what to do. But, I do try for them to eat as healthy as possible all the time. But if there's one thing in this life that stresses me out to my core, is my kids' eating habits. They give me a run for my money, especially my daughter Zena. She's right here in the background. But I realized because of talking to other moms that a lot of moms go through this. Like there's a lot of moms who, I don't know, talk about a stage in their kids' life in which the kid didn't want to eat anything. Like I remember Zena, she used to eat everything when she was a baby. Everything. I'm telling you, we would give her beans, we would give her meat, we would give her everything, and she would eat everything. But once she turned around 2 years old, 3 years old, she got so picky. And right now, she's like a vegan. Except she doesn't eat vegetables. No, she doesn't. She doesn't like to eat meat like that. I have to like shred it up, and I think it's like a texture problem, which I'm a little guilty of because I'm a little texture problem. But she's like to the extreme. I have to like shred her chicken, put it in her rice. The one thing I love that she eats is beans. She loves beans, so I'll put beans, rice, and like shredded chicken. But she's very picky, and at the end of the day, when I am like getting ready to go to sleep, and if my kids haven't ate well, I'm not really having that problem anymore with Armani. If he's hungry, he's eating the whole damn house. Like he is out here just looking for food. But I know for me, I feel like this sense of guilt, like when I feel like my daughter hasn't ate good all day. And I did bring this up to the pediatrician, and he was like, don't worry about it. As long as she's like drinking, if you see her drinking stuff so she doesn't go dehydrate, and she's like just snacking, like she'll be fine. Like certain kids just go through that. And I was like, really? Like I just feel so guilty when I go to bed and I know that my kid like has just been like kind of like nibbling on things all day. But yeah, don't feel too guilty if this is you too, because I've heard now a couple stories from other moms saying the same thing. And I didn't realize how many of us were stressed out about the same damn thing. But yeah, it's a struggle. Every day is a struggle. And we just need to be kind to ourselves. We just need to remind ourselves that every day isn't going to be perfect, that our kids aren't going to be perfect, but that we're doing the best that we can do. And that's all that we can do. And that's it. You know, there's so many kids out there that have so much less than our kids have. And here we are having anxiety because our kid just wants to nibble on food and doesn't want to eat, like a whole plate of food. When they're like 3 or 4 years old, they're not supposed to be eating that much to begin with. But yeah, I hope I'm making sense. My thoughts were all over the place. But yeah, don't be too harsh on yourself, moms. We're all going through the same stuff. None of us are perfect mothers. I know some of us may look like it on social media, but those are just little bursts of time. And our whole day doesn't look so calm and so put together. That's just very unrealistic of us to think. And we need to understand that we're all human and we're going to get frustrated. Our kids are going to shake us up, and it's okay. Like, it's fine. You're going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. We're in this together. So that's it for today's venting session, or like, I don't know what this was. This wasn't really a venting session. This was more like a sharing of moments. But that's it for today's venting session with Jessica. Let me know what other topics you guys want me to talk about in the comments down below. If you follow me on Instagram, you can also send me a DM. And that's it for today's session. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.